Test. Am I in? Okay. Let me just say hey everyone on the second channel. Hope you're doing okay. Still not live on the main one. I'm just checking my audio quick, but let's go live. Cool. Alright, make this live and then we'll... So if you're on the second channel, maybe skip forward a bit. Alright, we're live, so let me just get up the YouTube chat. Shout this video out. Just put up my Twitter. Alright. Chat come up for me. If anyone's in the chat, write W. Streaming now. I'll just post it on my Discord as well. And then we'll get into everything. Let me know if you're in the chat and I sound alright, press W. That would help. Alright. Posted my other streaming now. There we go. Put it in my Patreon Discord as well, because I know some people are just in that one. Oh, you guys can hear me all right, it seems. All right, nearly done. Let me just test the audio for myself. Just want to hear it. Sweet, that's fine. I hope everyone's okay who's in here already. Yeah, I haven't been as good at streaming lately, annoyingly. It's not really anything. It's because I've been seeing my girlfriend sometimes in the week, and then she might be around on a Thursday night or a Tuesday night. So I haven't been streaming as regularly as I want to. But I was going to make a video on this topic maybe on Monday, but I thought maybe it's better for a stream one. So I'm trying to find my mouse. Maybe it's better for a stream one. Well, we'll wait for some more people to join first before I start talking about it, because I don't want to repeat myself a million times. Thanks for the support on the videos. Weirdly, my Abby Shapiro Bioshock video blew up. It went from 25k to 80k in like a week. I don't know why this one blew up specifically, because it was just after I made that Jordan Peterson video about him being the Red Skull. And I don't know, YouTube just is weird like that. But yeah, thanks for the support on the video yesterday. I was pretty happy with that one. I like making videos like that. Like, I try and get a balance between like more clickbait garbage, I guess, and more like, you know, serious topics and everything. Hi Heather, thanks for joining. Hi Jess Kangaroo as well. Thank you for joining as well. I mean, Kangaroo and Jess are two different people. But yeah, I want to talk about Northern Ireland today because it's been a bit frustrating. Actually, that reminds me. I'll probably find an article later. We can talk about what's going on in Northern Ireland. Mikkel saying the Bioshock video was good, and I like seeing analysis of the game. Yeah, thanks for that. People being a bit butthurt in the comments saying that because I talk about Metal Gear as well, it's like clickbait, and I'm lying. And I said, no, at the start of the video, I said, first I'm going to talk about Metal Gear, and then I'm going to talk about Bioshock. I don't know how that's hard to understand. Just skip forward. So what video did I make yesterday? Okay. Western chauvinism video. So I'm just writing a list down of everything I've done this week. What else did I do yesterday? Did knee rehab as well. I'm glad I'm able to join the stream, and how is my idea for the future video? Heather, what was it again? Just because, not that I forgot, I just went through my Twitter DMs, and I have a filter on my Twitter DMs, so I haven't seen these in weeks, and most of them were video suggestions, so I'm getting confused over which one's yours and which one's not. So I'm just trying something out while I'm waiting for people to join. Low at the title, Andy knows, so pathetic, yep. Ahmed, they haven't really been in a lot of the mainstream news channels, disappointingly. I don't know if that's what you meant by that. So, sorry, I'm going to move the chat to the other screen, so I'm actually talking into the mic a bit better. Alright. Oh, didn't want to do that. Sorry, one second, just moving the chat over. Here we know again. Hi, Martin, thanks for joining. Hatred is a River saying he's just one of the many Asians that is quite proud of their honorary white supremacist status. Yeah, the thing is, Andy knows is really weird in terms of like, I'm guessing he's like some sort of like Vietnamese guy whose parents probably fled communism in quotes. So he probably hates Antifa for those reasons. I mean, they are more concerned with Cameron, but also nothing's going to happen with that story. So Heather's idea was anti-SJWs actually love strong female characters if they promote right-wing politics. Yeah, that's a good idea. I need more evidence of the women though. Like Gal Gadot, someone said in the comments of the video, and then you were saying Gina Carano. Yeah, I guess that could be a good idea. I need to see what Gina Carano does next. Maybe that's the thing to wait for. There's my favourite handsome chap. Hello, fucking Busker. How many have we got in here? I don't want to start talking about Andy No until we got a couple more. All right, 50 people. We'll wait a bit longer. So if there's anything people want to no Spooky Kitty, it's just started. If there's anything people want me to cover, never feel like you can't message me on Twitter or Instagram or Discord. I can't say I've had too many people who've given me ideas that I've actually made, apart from the two guys who suggested that Love Island video. That's probably the biggest example I can think of someone giving me a really good idea, but still give it a shot. I might cover it if you have an idea for a video. Tomorrow I'm going to do about American neo-Nazis who went to go fight in Ukraine, or who are going into Ukraine to fight the Russians and stuff. That should be a good one. I like talking about Ukraine. Here's a question for people, and I'm going to do it anyway. I've been offered potentially I've been offered a sponsorship by a company that I've actually used their thing before. It's to do with politics. So I'm probably going to take it if the contract's good and stuff. So I'm happy about that. So what do people think, right? I'm an anti-capitalist, and I can already see the comments like, oh, dude, you say you hate capitalism, but here you are taking a sponsorship. Isn't that capitalism? Well, I hate capitalism. I still have to get, I'm doing YouTube as my job at the moment, but like, when I wasn't doing YouTube, I had a job, or even when I was doing YouTube, I had a job. And like, I have to have the job in a capitalist system. Doesn't mean I love capitalism, and doesn't mean like I want a system where I have to depend on sponsorships for income. But if someone is offering to sponsor my video with an app that actually is a pretty good idea, then I'm going to take it. I mean, if you guys say like, you're a sellout and that's whatever, but you've got to make money somehow. I'm not going to have a go at an anti-capitalist who goes to work for McDonald's or Coca-Cola. Sorry, just down in my coffee. Exactly. WM saying buying things is supporting capitalism. Franklin saying, you know how you said you're English and Irish? No, so basically, I'm born in England. My parents were both born in England, but all their parents were born in Ireland. So, I mean, depends what your criteria is, because like if my parents were from like Ghana, then I would be black. Do you know what I mean? And no one would be like, oh, you're not really Irish. But because like all my blood is Irish and all my family is Irish, I consider myself maybe more Irish than English. But then I've spoken about this before in terms of identity stuff. Like, it's a bit confusing because I don't really feel like I fit in with like white British people, white English people specifically, and I don't feel like I fit in with Irish people as much either. So it's kind of like a weird. I'm sure people have identity issues like this all the time. It's kind of like I'm not really either. And I've said before, who I get on most with in the UK is regardless of where they're from, is like second gen, third gen immigrants. So one of my best friends is his parents are born in Kenya, and they're Indian, and he's Indian, and like his he's like Anglo-Indian culture, and he's one of my best friends. And I got other friends who are like Polish, other friends who are like two of my friends are actually born in Poland but they live here. Some of my other friends like Irish background, very similar. My girlfriend's exactly the same as me, Irish Catholic background and stuff. So can I make a video on anti-Asian hate attacks? Better person, I'm probably not going to make a specific video on that, but I have made a video about the issues around them in terms of like the fetishization of Asian women. It was my cyberpunk video and my weeaboo video. You can be a social democrat. Are you talking about me with the ad thing? Ulster loyalism is one of the most extremist ideologies out there. It was only a matter of time before the right started taking interest in them. Yeah, exactly. Mikhail, the only thing I'd change is instead of my plug for my Patreon and social media, I'm just going to put the ad for the company in instead. And like I said, I've used their stuff before they messaged me. Again, I don't know if this is finalised or anything yet, so it could change. But I'm not advertising something like... I mean, I probably would do this anyway, but like... what's those products? The shaving thing. Man trimmer? I don't even know what the hell it's called, but like, I'm not advertising that. I'm advertising something you can actually use, and something that is actually helpful with someone who uses a lot of different sources in my videos, like for the articles and everything. But I won't say anything yet until it's actually done. I mean, Trevor, I don't know if it's ethical or not, but I know the app is actually like good. Like, you guys, if you like the news, it's helpful. Yeah, Billy, most of the if you guys want a little preview, I made a video about why there are monuments to the Waffen SS in Canada. It's basically because loads of Ukrainians fought in the SS, and because Ukraine hate the USSR and the Soviets, they happily celebrate a lot of the fascist militias that fought with the Nazis against the Soviets. So, yeah. Do you consider yourself a socialist or a communist? If so, what would you recommend to watch and read? I've always said I consider myself, like, you can call me a socialist if you want, like, I won't really care. I said, but I think my problem with it, socialism, is I think you have to have a more positive view on humanity, and why I think humans are like a cooperative species. I think global capitalism has brainwashed most of us to turn against each other, and I don't have much hope we can break out of that very easily. So I'd say I'm more like leftist anti-capitalist. It is probably like a better description of me. Well, you can sing the chocolate oranges live on stream at 30k. Thankfully, because that Abby Shapiro video blew up along with my Jordan Peterson one, I should be hitting 30k hopefully this month now. I was actually thinking the end of May, because I was only on 28k like 9 days ago. I'm not eating any of them until 100k. Sorry to disappoint. Manscaped, thank you. Thank you, Spooky K. Irish dude here, shit's fucked. Yeah, it's really bad. Oh yeah, like the video, everyone, please. Base Tabernacle backstory. If you want more of a Tabernacle backstory, one of my ancestors is the guy who wrote the Irish proclamation for the Easter Rising in 1916. He was executed by the British. My grandma's granddad hated the British so much, he went to South Africa to fight them during the Boer War. And then my grandma says that some of her brothers, they're all dead now. They're in the IRA in like the 40s and 50s or something. Yeah, fucking Basker. It sounds like you're being like Northern English swearing. Yeah, Canada is really bad for native stuff. So, didn't Nazis hate Slavs? Yes, they did. Didn't stop them using a lot of Slavs. Lots of Polish people joined the SS as well. Finns aren't Slavs, but Finns obviously joined, everything like that. They follow the Dante Wright story. Yeah, is that the taser one? That stuff's so crazy, man. British police are awful, but like I was saying to my girlfriend yesterday, America are like not my girlfriend, she was my friend today. America are literally the most like cucked nation in terms of like both the Democrats and the Republicans don't even pretend to try and help you guys. But and I said the weird thing is as well, not only do they not even pretend they're going to help you, they have these fanatical followings. Like in the UK, I would say the Tory party aren't necessarily like popular. Like you don't get many people running around being like, oh yeah, I'm a Tory, mate. They'll just be like, I'm going to vote Tory in this election for X, Y, and Z, or I'm going to vote Lib Dem or Labour. But in America, you have these people who construct their whole like political personalities around whether they're Republican or Democrat. And it's so ridiculous because these two parties literally do nothing for the average citizen. And I was speaking to John, who's one of my long-time patrons. He's a bit older, he's 70, and we were talking about universal healthcare. And I'm just like, it just blows my mind America does not have universal healthcare. Cuba, which is under embargo, which is very poor, has universal healthcare. It has such good healthcare. Americans actually go to Cuba to get healthcare. Again, like, you have other countries that, like, China has, like, more of an insurance system, but, like, it is more like a universal healthcare system as well. And then you have, like, other socialist countries like Vietnam. But even most developed countries have universal healthcare in some regard. Or if in Germany, it has this insurance-based system which is designed to help most people get coverage, which is, fairly reasonable and everything. So, yeah, Billy, I covered that like 2 years ago, the Ben Shapiro thing. It was so funny. Someone saying, I often wonder how the gaming industry would be reshaped under co-ops and worker-owned workspace and whatnot. Yeah, like the thing is, with video games, people always go, well, without capitalism, we wouldn't have good video games. And my rebuttal was always the same. It's like, one of my favourite games is Tetris. And Tetris was made in the USSR, funded by a state university. The guy got funded. Obviously, he went on to sell Tetris later on, but he wasn't making it for profit, and he wasn't making it in terms of like, oh, I can't wait to sell this game to the West. I mean, Johnny, you can write it down in the comments if people are interested. I mean, I don't know how helpful it'd be to tell me right now on stream. But the Brexit stuff is the bit that's being underplayed a lot, isn't it? Doesn't embarrass Republicans, yeah. It's pretty mad. Here, Johnny. Okay, Johnny, if you want to give a quick synopsis in the comments, I'll read it out, because someone's asking, can you actually explain what's happening in Belfast? And I can, but if you want to give some nuances in the comments, I'll read it out once you've done it. So anyway, all right, let's see how many of you there are. I think we can go on to it now. We'll talk about Andy now. All right, there's 90 of you, so let's go. So this was a couple days ago. When I go to Vietnam, am I worried about anti-Western sentiment? Not really. There's quite a lot of Westerners there. All right, so let's go into this. So Andy and I are saying, wait, can you guys see it all right? Let me just check OBS. Oh, no, I do not want to open that. Yeah, you guys can see it, okay. More violence broke out in Belfast, UK, as rioters set bus on fire and attacked police. The ongoing rioting was sparked when the state declined to prosecute. Oh fuck! Sorry, just accidentally opened Sony Vegas. There we go, it's gone. Wait, are we still good? Sorry, still good. Yeah, still good. To prosecute. This is basically the political wing of the IRA. So for you guys, I'll just say IRA. Oh, like, not anymore, but let's just say it's the Republican Party, the main Republican Party in Ireland. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm highlighting. All right, one sec. Politicians who attended a large funeral of an IRA member in violation of COVID rules. So this was the worst one. They're like destroying a bus. Like that's pretty crazy. It's some of the worst violence in Northern Ireland in like 20 years. And then earlier this week, rioters hurled dozens of firebombs at police in Belfast. At one point, a rioter was set on fire. Peace wall separated nationalist and unionist neighbourhoods in Belfast were targeted by rioters in ongoing unrest. So here you see what's happening there. My girlfriend's brother actually lives in Belfast. Tit for tat violence continues in Belfast, UK, with rioters throwing firebombs and rocks. So first of all, the reason he says here, that is only part of it. It's not really the full story here. Yeah, so this is the comments are like really get me. So like Andy No's whole deal is basically skewing everything. So he only focuses on one side and obviously embeds himself with like Proud Boys and nationalists and everything. So yeah, someone else saying it's Brexit, Northern Ireland Protocol, drug busts. Now the drug bust is interesting because the drug busts have been done on loyalist gangs. So this made me laugh though. So let's see how those Antifa fairies hold up against real IRA soldiers. Like I don't understand. Like, okay, this guy's from America, and this is what I want to get into. Right, Americans are so hilariously uninformed about. Yeah, someone I follow, Jane. Americans really don't understand Irish politics at all, do they? So, I'm just trying to understand like this at all. Like, so okay, the loyalists are Antifa, and they're fighting the police. So are the police meant to be IRA soldiers? I don't understand the logic. Or if we go back up, like I don't understand where the IRA bit has come on. And it's also funny, like this guy hates Antifa, but is praising the IRA, right? And the IRA isn't like strictly socialist, but the history of the IRA has a lot to do with socialism and anti-imperialism. I would say Antifa and the IRA are far more similar than Antifa and these guys here, the loyalists. So let's get some more tweets. Sorry, these are my bookmarks. So yeah, Andy No seeing loyalist violence and instantly blaming nationalists is right on par for his shtick. Yeah, exactly. Alright, here's another one. Here's a couple. Oh, wait. Hold on. We imported this. No, okay, that's a Scottish person. This must be Europe's version of Portland because they think it's Antifa. Yeah, let's see how these Antifa fairies hold up. This one, I want globalism. I don't even understand how that sort of shit plays into this stuff. So Antifa is the spark lighting a much deeper scar. Where's the Antifa stuff come from? Hopefully they send in the military or something. How left-wing terrorism is not considered terrorism in 2021. Oh yeah, because of subversion, indoctrination from the media and education system. How can I forget? Who is funding and supporting this group of anarchists is the question. Well, the people who are funding these groups and egging them on is actually loyalist gangs in Belfast. Now, what people don't understand, right, about the violence, because people see like violence in Northern Ireland and they automatically assume it's like something to do with the IRA. And what is actually fucking hilarious is that when it is something to do with the IRA, it gets non-stop coverage, even if it's like one unexploded bomb they find in Armagh or something. But when it's this, they've been ignoring this. They've been ignoring this because it's due to Brexit and stuff. Now, I'm trying to find the article I read. who did I send it to? Because it was a really good one, and it outlined the issues like really nicely. Also, how embarrassing is this shit when Prince Philip died? People crying. He was 99. He's a piece of shit as well. So I'm trying to think of the article that I was reading. Fuck it. Let's just type in Boris Johnson responsible Northern Ireland. Alright, this title seems alright. Hopefully it's not a subscription. See how long it is. I can read some of it to you. Very long. We'll flick through this. I want to give people. I want to talk about Ireland, but I want to give my perspective. But I don't want to leave anything out. So okay, this is how the Brexit stuff factors in. Then Johnson's carelessness over Northern Ireland is an undeniable factor in the current violence. The Prime Minister. The Prime Minister consistently overlooked the Irish border issue during Brexit negotiations. The riots in Belfast are inextricably bound up with his irresponsibility. Alright, so go down because he's just talking about... okay, of course the ominous scenes are not the Prime Minister's fault alone. The loyalist areas have been inflamed are among the most deprived in the country, with the lowest level of education attainment in Europe. There has long been simmering anger in these communities at politicians' neglect, which was further stoked by the decision to not prosecute Republican leaders who attended a large funeral for a senior IRA commander in breach of coronavirus restrictions. The backdrop, though, is the Brexit deal, for which Johnson must take responsibility. The Prime Minister was careless with the facts and too willing to gloss over the complexities of Northern Ireland in his rush to get Brexit done. Even, I think, the Foreign Secretary at the time said he hadn't read the Good Friday Agreement, which is like 20 pages long or something. He applies a reckless, have-your-cake-and-eat-it approach to an area where the cake had already been painstakingly shared. There was always going to be a border somewhere if the UK left the single market and the customs union. So this is what we were in as part of the European Union. One side would be disappointed, but Johnson pretended that this was not the case. As Jonathan Powell, who helped deliver the Good Friday Agreement 23 years ago, put it at the weekend, he opted to put the border in the Irish Sea, then choose to lie about it live on TV, saying there would be no border and no one have to fill out any forms. Now, a bit of background for this. Basically, the Good Friday Agreement, which can't believe is not taught in America a bit more since Bill Clinton was so heavily involved. Good Friday Agreement basically recognises the will of the Irish people broadly to become united again, right? The point of that is the violence stopped because the IRA essentially achieved its aims, kind of, but it's a compromise. It's like, we will stop agitating violently for a united Ireland if you recognise that the Irish people want to become united, and that is why there isn't a hard border between the North and the Republic of Ireland. Now, I'm going to just tell you guys, I'm not saying any of you guys are stupid, but in case you don't know, Northern Ireland is like Ulster and some other provinces. That is part of the United Kingdom. So it has MPs in London Parliament. It is affected by the laws we pass in the United Kingdom. It has its own parliament as well, but like Scotland and Wales do, but it's part of the United Kingdom. And the Republic of Ireland is the island that was formed beginning after the War of Independence in the 1910s and early 1920s, and then slowly transitioned to where they weren't part of the not part of the UK. The Queen was not the head of state, and they became totally independent, where Northern Ireland stayed part of the UK. Of course, when Republicans, even back in the day, spoke about Ireland, they don't mean just the Republic of Ireland, this one part, they mean the whole of Ireland. And the North used to be mainly Protestant. It's now a bit more equal. And the Protestants in the North are mainly descended from Scottish people, Scottish Protestants. That's why the Glasgow Rangers stuff is so intertwined with this, sectarianism. Because you have Glasgow Rangers versus Rangers, these two football teams, and there's loads of sectarian, violence involved with that stuff as well. And basically, Ulster and the surrounding provinces that make up the North, they were always, the best developed land, had the best economy and stuff, because it's where the British decided to focus most of their attention. And this can go back even to like the Tudor times, the Norman times. It was like some of the first settlements, proper ones up there, were in the North, where you had more like, Viking-style settlements in the south a lot of the time. But anyway, that's the context of the Good Friday Agreement. Broadly is that the agreement brings all the parties together to stop the violence, and while the North will remain in the UK for the time being, it recognises the will of the Irish people to go forward, right? And constantly throughout the Brexit stuff, Boris Johnson would basically not take the stuff seriously, not act, basically people warned him that if you don't handle this properly, you could kick off some violence in Northern Ireland again. Basically didn't care. So let's go a bit further. So now there's more checks on goods going into Northern Ireland. And when they're a part of the EU, which includes Ireland, where a lot of people have jobs, a lot of people in the Republic and the North travel to work on the other side. So they, people in the Republic go work in the North, people in the North go work in the Republic. The border helps that stuff, but also a lot of their, exports and stuff, they now need to, go through Ireland, but now people don't want to trade with Northern Ireland as much because it has more restrictions. So the article going on to say, political reality is reasserting itself with devastating consequences. The Times cartoonist Peter Brooks depicted the situation brilliantly last week with a drawing of a burning Vote Leave bus emblazoned with the slogan, "No border in the Irish Sea." The irresponsibility is astonishing, and it is not as if the Prime Minister was not warned. During the 2016 referendum campaign, Tony Blair and John Major travelled to Northern Ireland to raise concerns about the risk to peace to form a Brexit vote. Of course, Tony Blair came in just as the peace process was coming to an end, but John Major, Tory Prime Minister after Margaret Thatcher, a big part in the negotiations. They also suggested a Leave result would jeopardise the unity of the UK, which turned out to be rather prescient as well. A report published last June by the House of Lords EU Committee laid bare the dangers inherent in the Northern Ireland Protocol. The combination of uncertainty, lack of momentum and lack of time, compounded by the shock of COVID-19, is a potent threat to economic prosperity and political stability in Northern Ireland. So keep going on a bit more. So the Prime Minister, Boris, who's completely incompetent, did not seek to head these dangers off last year, and he is still not taken sufficient notice. Tom Fletcher, the former diplomat who covered Northern Ireland in Downing Street for 4 years, tweeted last week, "There were moments when the PM had to rip up grid and cancel break, let people down, stay up late, hit phones, spend, flatter, arm twist, and do nothing else for the week. This is one. Yet it took Johnson days to even issue a Twitter response to the violence. Number 10 has still not agreed to a crisis summit with Dublin. Instead, Downing Street has harmed relations with the Irish government with its threats to break international law over the deal with the EU, which they did back in the day as well." So basically, that's one part of it. But another part of it is... so I'm going to get out for you. There's a big part of gangs. Violence, gangs. It's about unionist gangs. Here we go. So People's World. Let's try and find you what I'm talking about here to make it clear. And you get, sorry I'm not reading the chat. You're getting a nice education in Northern Ireland for people who don't know about it. So try and find just the bit I want to talk about. The gang stuff. Alright, causes of violence. Alright, here's one. So, in several loyalist working class neighbourhoods, the influence of paramilitary gangs still lingers. The police service in Northern Ireland believe paramilitary involvement is less motivated by Brexit, and the funeral has more to do with these rogue factions. The South East Antrim UDA reacting to police crackdowns on its criminal enterprise. Many of the rioters in recent days have been youths, leading to fears that they are being organised by criminal groups. And then Union, in terms of Brexit, Union loyalists in Northern Ireland are angry that the UK's post-Brexit treaty with the European Union has created barriers between itself and the rest of Britain. The controversial protocol, known as the Northern Ireland Protocol, established a new regulatory border between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK by keeping Northern Ireland in the EU single market, which is forcing checks on foods and goods between Europe, the UK and Northern Ireland, causing delays and supply shortages. So I've seen some pictures of like supermarkets like with nothing on their shelves. But yeah, so that is the problem in terms of the Northern Ireland stuff at the moment. So then it's pretty hilarious to then these people thinking it's anything to do with Antifa, because what people don't realise, the DUP and like a lot of Protestant loyalists in Northern Ireland are some of the most right-wing people in the UK in terms of like, gay rights, abortion, just religious fanaticism and stuff. It's, and it might have maybe a more association with Catholicism, but most people in Ireland, younger people might describe themselves as Catholic, but that's more like a an identity thing rather than they're strictly religious and stuff. Wait, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Alright, sorry. Gonna read some comments now. Ulster Unionists in my chat. Get out. Americans barely know outside of their suburbs. Imagine the world. If you like the content, help this guy. Yeah, like the video. What's going to happen to Northern Ireland after Brexit? Hopefully I answered that for you. Oh, Prince Philip. Yeah, I literally could not give a Yeah, I want to talk about this as well. Prince Philip, I literally couldn't give a shit, to be honest. He was 99. He benefited from some of the best healthcare in the world thanks to like taxpayers' money. Yeah, it's sad for his family. 150,000 people have died due to the what has been happening in the world, in the UK specifically. So I'm more sad for people like that. Yeah, he was 99, lived a long life, lived a life of relative luxury after he became the prince. Sad for his family. Don't care enough to have this weekend just gone. Every single BBC station was playing sad music, wall-to-wall coverage, glowing praise of him. This is meant to be an impartial institution, but it's just propaganda for royalists. And we're having like 8 days of mourning. So like loads of weird shit is happening with like companies developing stuff or like the media and everything. So it's like North Korean type rubbish. And the thing is, if the BBC is impartial, there are millions of people like me who don't like the monarchy and don't care that a 99-year-old prince has passed away. Like, literally could not give a shit. So when I was in the army, a black guy from the UK told me in the early 80s when they had riots in black areas of London, the Irish came in and showed people how to make Molotov cocktails. That's pretty cool. American education is a joke. I learned more about Monica Lewinsky than anything Bill Clinton actually did. I did not count on the lessons I was taught in the American education system. I went to the public library and self-taught myself. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, I think that's what you got to do, really. I don't know what the United Kingdom is doing in Northern Ireland in the first place. Yeah, so here's an interesting question that Billy asks. Do Northern Irish want to coexist peacefully with the British or want reunification with the Republic of Ireland? Well, currently, the main Republican Party and the main Unionist Party have like an equal amount of seats. Their parliament is deadlocked at the moment, but there is a growing sentiment for unification. And it's also helped by Protestant populations declining in Northern Ireland while Catholic populations are increasing. So the Republicans are nearly always Catholic Republicans. They want reunification, always have. Most of the Republic of Ireland want reunification. And it's the Protestants who don't want it. But of course, even if it ever gets voted in, a reunification, you're going to have to deal with some violence because the whole point is not being ruled by the Pope. I know it's like old-fashioned, but not being ruled by the papacy. And it goes back to Oliver Cromwell, but mainly William of Orange. My Dutch friend makes fun of me for saying orange, not orange, which is in Dutch. He was a Dutch king or prince, obviously following the line of the House of Orange, because William of Orange was one of the first was it aristocrats to rebel against the Spanish control of the Netherlands. But he came to England to fight James II, who wanted more relaxed laws for Protestants and mainly Catholics, as he was Catholic himself. And he defeated James II in Ireland, and with him winning that, it's called the Battle of the Boyne, 1690. And with him winning that, Northern Ireland essentially became a country where Catholics were second-class citizens, or by and large. and Protestant rule dominated, despite being the minority. And what's kind of sickening is that subjugation is celebrated every year in the Orange March in Northern Ireland, basically rubbing their faces in it. But yeah, the British shouldn't be there, basically. And I was talking about in my last stream a couple of weeks ago, is that tying Scottish independence to Irish unification is wrong, because the Scots are complicit in the issues going on in Northern Ireland. Scots' problems with the UK are more recent. They're not like historic, despite what Braveheart might tell you. Scotland have been way more complicit in British imperialism than anyone in Ireland. So wait, let's read some comments. He died a rich old bastard, how sad. They're not close cousins. I think that's a bit of a myth. I looked at the family tree. They're second cousins once removed, but they are both related to Queen Victoria. I mean, in a capitalist system, just make the money however you want. Like, the stock market, I haven't really played it much. I've done it a tiny bit. I haven't made any money, though. I mean, go for it, I guess. I'm not going to hold it against you. Those chocolate oranges are disgusting. Why? Have you had one? We don't have something like chocolate oranges here. A lot of people telling me you get them around, like, Christmas or something. They're really weird. I know it's a joke, fucking Basca, but at university I actually did Habsburg Spain. So the one they always talk about is Carlos II, also known as Charles II, who was so deformed he couldn't have children, which kicked off the Spanish War of Succession, which when Britain took Gibraltar, I believe, also led to the age of piracy, because Britain were fighting the Spanish in like the Caribbean, and then they just agreed a truce, and then all the British sailors were just left in the Caribbean with no work, so they all became pirates, like Blackbeard and some other ones. That's where they all come from. It's an interesting period of history, definitely. No, Ahmed, like the SNP are completely dominating Scottish politics. You can't say like most Scots don't want to leave. I think the polls show more Scots want to leave than don't want to leave. Alan Partridge, the only reason you know a chocolate orange. Yeah, a lot of the Protestants in Northern Ireland are descendants of Scots. Yeah, they are. Black Bart from Assassin's Creed 4, who's a sage. But no, that's Black Sails in Assassin's Creed 4. That taught me a lot about the piracy stuff. But yeah, the thing with like Americans, like it has one of the largest like Irish populations outside of Ireland, and they just don't know anything about Ireland. Like it's actually embarrassing. But to be fair though, a lot of people in the UK don't know anything about Ireland, and I think I'm in a bubble sometimes, because most people I know are Irish in some shape or form. So you kind of just think everyone knows about it, but then like yeah, Craig, he had that really good Welsh accent, didn't he? Sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, Americans and British people. So yeah, it's quite an annoying issue. I get it. It's a very small country, but it's so intertwined with American history, and it's just interesting. Interesting. Not much is known really, and even by people older who lived through it. Like I'm 25. Good Friday Agreement agreed when I was like a baby, and I still know about it. I can't believe how many votes your Moon Man video got. Yeah, basically with the Moon Man video is because nearly everything to do with Moon Man is banned off YouTube. If you type in Moon Man, my video would just be the first thing you see. So loads of fucking Nazis just found it. And that's just what happened with that one. But no, YouTube's been doing fine at the moment. Lots of subs. Yeah, that's the only good thing, Caesar, that Joe Biden and the Democrats are good for, is that they want to protect the Good Friday Agreement, and they're threatening like a trade deal with Britain about that stuff. So that's one good thing they're doing. But overall, it's like a frustrating situation. And like I said, Democrats suck, just as much, not as much as Republicans, but you know they're both pretty shitty. So just get my water. I'm Irish American. I know a bit, but I don't have any current knowledge. Yeah, I guess it's not something Americans tend to follow, like Irish politics and stuff. What's your opinion about British patriots? British people support British intervention in Iraq and Afghanistan. There's nothing more patriotic than supporting your country sending young men off to die for oil. British patriots, knuckleheads. I hate patriotism. I hate nationalism. And even though you can have like a good, like liberal form of patriotism, I still think it's dangerous because you're constructing the identity of a country, which is always going to exclude people. It also usually relies on revisionist history. Like, I heard some woman on the radio telling some black MP, I think I spoke about this last week, just saying that like he wasn't English because he's not descended from the Saxons. And it's like, well, the Saxons are from Germany and they invaded Britain when the Romans left. But then you obviously had the native English, but that's still quite diverse in itself, like the Celts or the Britons who are like Welsh, or the Picts who are Scottish, and then you have like the Cornish and stuff as well. So then it's like Britain, the British Isles was always very diverse, and you have like a massive invasion of various different Viking groups as well. And then you have a Norman conquest. Normans are like Viking descendants mixed with French people. So it's like patriotism and nationalism just construct fake identities, and you rely on revisionist history to construct them. I don't know. I feel like it sanitizes a lot of stuff. Sorry, I think I stood on a nail or something. What is it? Were you ever ashamed to be Irish? Did you ever hide it? I mean, it's kind of hard. Although you guys don't know my real name, Tommy is not my real name, by the way. That's just my fake Reddit name. My real name, both of my names are pretty explicitly Irish, so I could never really hide it. But because I went to Catholic school, everyone there is either Irish, from like a variety of African countries, Polish, or yeah, that's pretty much it, or Filipino. So it's not something you really had to hide. But I've never hid it. I've never really been extremely passionate about being Irish, but I'm interested in my background, obviously. How do I feel talking about Brit bonger? I don't really know what it means. Is it just like, I mean, like a general British person? Oh, let me just make myself bigger. Wait. Let's see what's going on. But Gaza, Neil Lennon. But what was I going to say? So this is what the video is going to be on tomorrow. It's going to be on this sort of stuff that's been happening. Basically, it's basically American neo-Nazis going to fight with Ukrainian fascists against the Russians. Let me make myself smaller quick. And then that's pretty much it, though. I can't think. Does anyone else have any good ideas for great content? Because Friday I need to come up with something, but I'm not too sure yet. That still was so hilarious to me, the Peterson stuff. All right, one sec. I'll take some comments for a bit longer. I'm not really feeling streaming really late tonight. One sec. So, I registered Republican to manipulate the primaries. Yeah, so in some states you can vote for Republican or Democratic candidate regardless of what party you're in, I believe. Is that true? Just general British person. Okay, Brit bonger. Are there any books you suggest reading related to the left? I don't read a lot of theory, but you could read Edward Said Orientalism if I'm going to give you like a basic bitch recommendation about something good to read. It's just very helpful for understanding like racial stereotypes in media and how you're manipulated, by, you know, people's depictions of countries you're not from. Do something on this weird Brian Rose for Mayor campaign. Yeah, I would, but no one really knows who he is. You missed most of it, Murrow, from Peterborough. Tucker Carlson's defense of white replacement theory. Yeah, maybe something like that. Do some video on Asian femboys. I mean, what would I really say about that? Is that even, like, what about them? There's Asian femboys great. Socialist movements in South Asia, probably not, because stuff like that is just too it's too, I guess, nitty gritty for me to. Because the thing is, I always plan my videos on the day I do them. I don't really have time to research something like that because I don't have much knowledge about it. How about the Kill the Bill protest? No, I probably won't do something on that either. I streamed it. The thing is, I guess because you guys aren't me, you probably don't watch every video. I'll explain it. So I'll explain to people what I look for when I'm making content. It might be helpful. So everything you said is perfectly fine. Like, the suggestions people have given me is fine. The reason I won't make them into videos is because, as someone who does this as a job now, I'm looking for a nice blend of something I like to make, something that people will click, and things people will watch, right? So that is like a more nitty gritty, like, politics video, just like the rise of Western chauvinism. But then, like, I'm kind of using these two political figures to get people to click, and so you recognise it, right? Something like this is just something I care about, and it's kind of like a response to the Gamergate shit and everything. But again, like, you got Anita Sarkeesian, you got the Jeff Gertzman stuff. Obviously, this one, need I say more? Red Skull vs Jordan Peterson, very clickable. Then something like this is like the kind of shit I'm looking for, right? So, the Love Island to alt-right pipeline. Like, it sounds ridiculous, right? And it is a bit ridiculous, but there is some truth behind it. So I'm looking basically to talk about these things wrapped in a marketable skin. So I'm really proud of these videos I've made about the booze, and I might need to make a series finale about them, or like even the weird world of alt-right TikTok and shit. Because it's like, okay, this is marketable. It's something like this one specifically. You wrap it up in like a kind of meme gun culture format, and that's the way you sort of advertise this stuff, and people will click on it based on the thumbnail, based on the title, and that's what I'm looking for. So if I'm doing like Kill the Bill protest or socialist movements in South Asia, if you're really looking at my content here, it's not very similar to anything I'd usually cover. And, you know, I'm talking about something more strictly politics with the stream today, and that's what I use the stream for, to talk about more strict politics. But when I'm looking for video ideas, like, okay, the Ukrainian fascist one is maybe like a bit more strictly politics, but I know people like me talking about Nazi stuff on this channel. So like, you've got various different forms. Like, if you can see, it's like you've got to wrap. So I talk about Orientalism and anti-Japanese racism, but the hook is cyberpunk, right? I'm talking about it through the lens of cyberpunk. The Verabooz thing, I'm talking about Reddit simps for Nazi Germany. So there's like, if you can see what I'm doing with this, so even like this stuff, it's like you put it in some sort of skin to talk about something quite serious. I don't know. I guess because I'm in the headspace where I create all these videos, where like I'm in the mindset of how to do them. But yeah, all I'd say is, if you're giving me a video suggestion, and you suggest videos all day and night to me, I don't mind taking suggestions. But like, if you think like, oh, why didn't he do that? The reason I wouldn't do some of those is not because you couldn't make good videos on them, and it's not because I don't care about them, but it's just like my style of content now, which I've created and curated over like the last 2 or 3 years, is like a very certain style and a certain kind of topic. So I would say the best way to describe my content is internet politics slash internet culture. Whereas like if you're not online and you're not like big on the internet, like you spend a lot of time on the internet, you're probably not going to really know a lot of these things. Like, if you're not on... I don't know why this video is doing so well, by the way. This Abby Shapiro one. I actually played it on stream the other night as well. Yeah, and I'm getting loads of stupid things like just enjoy a game for what it is, no politics, which seems to happen all the time. So I'll take some more of your comments. One sec. Here, give me 1 sec. I can just... Alright, sorry, I'm reading your comments, 1 sec. I was driving around where my parents live and I saw this person flying a Confederate flag and the Republic of Georgia flag at their house and was wondering if this flag is used in neo-Nazi spaces. Is the Republic of Georgia one like... I'll type it in. Is it like that one with the Confederate flag on it? Or is it like the Republic of Georgia in terms of like the country? 1 second. I'm just looking at it now. Oh, there is a flag of Georgia with the Confederate flag in it. Okay, Billy's saying the Cyberpunk video is fantastic. Thanks a lot for saying that. Always wondered why there are so many Japanese in the game. Yeah, that sort of stuff is really interesting to me. It's always interesting to analyze media like that. That Tick channel, people have told me about it before, but it's kind of hard to analyze. Do a video about leftists simping for the Japanese. That just doesn't seem to happen, so I don't think I can make that video. Sorry, where have my comments gone? Top chat. Why is it changing to top chat? I want live chat. You can make a video about wars and the main motivation behind them. I still don't understand how it's all wrapped around oil. I made a really long documentary style video on the Iraq war a couple years back. I don't even know if it would still be there. I'll quickly have a look. Basically, I used to cover more strict politics. Like you can see it here. It's more like actual politics, like politics. But I just slowly grew out of that, I guess. Not that many of you remember it, but if you were here back in the day, you're the best. When I, like 5K live stream special, 2 years ago now. Damn, it goes quick. See if I've left it up. Maybe I took it down. I don't know why I do that. When did I make it? But yeah, I must have taken it down. It was a good video though. I used to make more like video essay style stuff. So basically, if you guys want to know how my channel blew up, this video, right? This is the video that made me. British take on why Bernie Sanders is the only choice for America in 2020. So I made this 2 years ago and a month ago. I mean, I look kind of similar. Before I had all my neurological problems. Beard's a bit thinner. But basically, this video sort of blew up. Thankfully, and it got me out of this rut. I was on about 4.4k for like it felt like nearly a year. It could have been a year maybe. And then I did that video, and then from then, it's a background about me for a bit. And then from then, let's zoom in a bit more. I made these like sort of videos about like everything, and then thankfully got to 6k pretty quick. But then I stagnated for ages, man. I was on 6k for like so long, and then I eventually got to 7 after being on the Humanist Report for the first time, eventually. And then I hit 8k in March 2020. Damn, I've grown quick now. March 2020, it's about here. I hit 8k, and then I think this video changed my content for good. Why so many furries and neo-Nazis? The first time I did that, near a year ago. and I just realised people like this style of content, and then I made this little series that I was proud of about the toxic politics of the gaming community, and then it started my content as you sort of know it today. Like, I doubt many of you watching would have been here even back when I made these ones, because I've grown so much lately. And then this is the one I was talking about, why Canada has World War II memorials for Nazi soldiers. So it's this sort of stuff, like, which I started making and people seem to really respond to. And I enjoyed it a lot more. So this is like, I'm still not on 10k at this point though. And then eventually, actually, I think I hit 10k around here. I hit 10k. So 7 months ago I hit 10k. Seems like a lifetime now. And then I just kept making the content, and then I took a week off over Christmas, which I didn't even see that long ago. Took a week off, and then I was like, shit, like, have I fucked my channel because I've taken a week off? And then I made Why So Many Bronies and Furries and Neo-Nazis, and a lot of you might have been here from that. That one just blew up like crazy for someone like me. And then the next couple, like, the whole month was amazing, like, just crazy views that I couldn't even dream of, like 124k, 56k, 44, 68, 13, 44, 16, 18. Like, it was amazing. And then stagnate. That was 20. I hit 20k around here, maybe here, and then we've gone from there, and then we're about to hit 30k. So so that's the short story of the Tabernacle. It's been a grind, man. Like, especially, I only quit my job in December, so all those videos you saw of me doing, I was doing all them while working full time, and I would work 40 hours a week. So very much work went into this channel. Thankfully now I quit, I can just put all my effort into it now. And if the sponsorship goes through, then hopefully I'll be making a good deal, not a good deal of money. Hopefully I could nearly be making my crap salary I was making, so before I quit. Dilbert Doubloon, it's like, the thing with, I get what you're saying in terms of Japan. Obviously there was an oil embargo on Japan, but I've spoken about this before. It's because it's like a competing state with America, and it was obviously like threatening US interests in the region. So it is. I that's what the Tojo Boos say, is like the Japanese had to do Pearl Harbor because the US forced them. But I don't think Tojo Boos are left wing necessarily, but there might be some who are apologists for the Japanese actions in World War II because of, like the things you're mentioning. Your channel farms the funniest uninformed writing comments and sort by yeah, Tony Montana. Basically what happens is all of you guys will get your comments in early. So what happens as a video goes on and on, it's mainly weirdly right-wingers who find it. So when I sort by new, it's always just some weird right-winger commenting something stupid. I just found you because the Shapiro Bioshock video popped in my feed. Was this recently, Blake? Because that one has blown up recently for some reason. I think your history videos are some of the most interesting. Yeah, I really like making the history videos. Obviously, you guys will know, as well as like doing international relations for my master's. I did a history degree. I love history so much. And I love making the videos like the Rhodesia one, because I just love history. But like I said, you've got to market it in a way. Like, I could make a video titled "This is what a Rhodesia was" or some shit, but like the way I title it and market it is how you get people to click on it. But if you break it down, I'm really just talking about Rhodesian history. Here from the American Weeaboo Fascist video. Awesome. Great. Your videos are great, man. Thanks a lot, Andy. Thanks for saying so. I've been around since 6k. Thanks, Solano. I appreciate it. I don't think there's any 6k people left. My job was pharmaceutical journalist, which I really enjoyed, and I'm actually probably going to start my own pharmaceutical journalism site because I like it so much. It's actually a really interesting industry. But my boss was just a fucking awful person. Actually, finally left a really bad Glassdoor review because my job was being advertised again. I only left like 4 months ago, so the new person's had enough as well. So I did it for a year. Before that, I did journalism about immigration in the UK, which was fairly interesting. And then before that, I was just doing my master's degree. And now, although I don't like saying it, I guess I am a full-time YouTuber, even though the money's not amazing or anything. But it feels good to earn it, like based on my own work. Tojo Boo's fucking shocked me. Awesome, your Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Great, yeah, that was an interesting game. Lots of US propaganda, but weirdly humanizes Soviets in a weird way. Do a video on how I'm anti-Keemstar. I mean, I'm not, well, I don't like Keemstar, but I'm not that passionate about in my dislike. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Blake. You binged my recent content. Great. You look so much like Keemstar. I mean, I really don't, apart from, like, we both have beards. So thoughts on Venezuela? I mean, Venezuela, like, Hugo Chavez is interesting and like what they did with the oil revenue. Obviously not diversifying their economy really fucked them. To be honest, with stuff like Venezuela, there's so much disinformation. I don't even really know what to think of people like Maduro. It's probably like ignorance on my part, but like obviously I'm meant to think he's like Venezuelan Hitler. But because obviously the US have, you know, Venezuela is one of the most oil-rich countries. Do I really trust like US like so-called journalism on Venezuela? No. So I subscribed after your COD Modern Warfare video. That was ages ago. So maybe that was 7K. Little known historical stuff that only fascists know about is important for leftists to learn. Yeah. Oh no, King Cobra saying, "What's your opinion on communism? Or would you consider yourself more of a lib-left type?" Yeah, no one ever get it like twisted that I'm a liberal, because I'm really not a liberal. I consider myself like left-wing. Like I said, I'm leftist, anti-communist, anti you know, nationalist, anti-patriot. Like I'm all that stuff. I'd say my politics are pretty, you know, wouldn't say extreme, but there's quite hard left. Not like I'm a tanky or anything, but you're not gonna get me you know, making videos about how bad Cuba and Vietnam are or something like that. Or you're not gonna get me saying I think Ho Chi Minh and Che Guevara are bad people. I'm definitely not a liberal though. I think liberals are just the worst, basically. So I liked your MGS video about Big Boss represents Kojima's ideals. Yeah, Blake, this is something I want to address, right? So this is what people have said, and you're not saying it in a malicious way, but people have been saying it like, "Oh my god, bro, like Big Boss liking Che Guevara is not Hideo Kojima praising him because Big Boss is a bad guy." So let's start with the Big Boss first. And people, this is the Metal Gear video. So Big Boss loves Che Guevara, right? And Big Boss becomes... This is the thing I don't even get. Metal Gear does not have proper villains. Ocelot, Liquid Ocelot, is the antagonist for MGS2 and MGS4, and then at the end of MGS4, it turns out he was the good guy all along. He's also the bad guy in MGS1 and MGS3, but after MGS4, it turns out Liquid Ocelot was actually the good guy. And that's the thing, like, oh, Big Boss is the bad guy. Snake works for the US government to kill Venom Snake and kill Big Boss. The US government are the bad guy in the Metal Gear Solid games, for most of them, right? But even if I like take the point that, let's say, Hideo Kojima is trying to show Big Boss as a bad person, Big Boss isn't the only person talking about Che Guevara. Kazuhiro Miller is also talking about Che Guevara. Kaz Miller trains Solid Snake and is killed by Ocelot later. So Miller is not a bad guy in Metal Gear. If we're looking at the whole span of the series, he talks about how much he likes Che Guevara. Amanda and Chico aren't bad guys. Amanda talks about how much she loves Che Guevara. So the point of, like, the thing is, if I didn't like Che Guevara, I would not include, even if this guy was a bad guy, them glowingly praising how good Che Guevara was. And also, if you're looking through the political prism of Hideo Kojima being extremely anti-nuclear weapons, and he specifically puts in Kazuhiro Miller and Snake talking about Che Guevara visiting Hiroshima. You do not put that into a game if you are a Japanese person who is extremely anti-nuclear weapons, if you do not like Che Guevara. It doesn't matter if Big Boss is saying it. And I think in the context of Peace Walker, Big Boss is the good guy. Regardless of, the old Metal Gear games that came out in the 80s and stuff, Big Boss in that context is the good guy. And Kaz Miller is a good guy in terms of the broad spectrum of the series, right? And Ocelot later on is found to be the good guy. So it's a weird series. So I do not take the point. I wanted to make a whole video on this. I do not take the point that a guy who writes this game, who is a Japanese guy, leftist Japanese guy, who's anti-nuclear weapons, puts in that communist revolutionary, disobeys the government in Japan and runs off to Hiroshima to visit the hospital there, and then talks about how awful it is and everything he's seen. And one of the characters who's talking about this thing is a Japanese-American guy. One of the only Japanese characters in the Metal Gear series, Kaz Miller. So, yeah, I don't understand the criticism. I'm not saying you're pointing it out, but people thinking it's a gotcha for me, like, yeah, mate, Big Boss is a bad guy, so Kojima's actually trying to show you everything he says is wrong or something. It was pretty ridiculous. Venezuelan here. If you don't know about Venezuela, please stop acting like you're informed. It's annoying. I'm guessing you're not talking to me because I just said I didn't know enough about it and I'm ignorant of it. But yeah, that's true. The only thing I know about Venezuela is just the oil stuff and Hugo Chavez, and that's it. Moro saying he's been subbed for so long and doesn't remember the first video. Oh, that's good. I subbed after the Abby Shapiro video. That's good. I've heard... Oh, wait. So Katie's saying, I think I have a specific ideology subsection. Having a specific ideology subsection is overrated. Like I say, I'm a leftist, but there are aspects of many ideologies within the left that make sense. Yeah, like that's the same with me. Like I'm not like... Let me just move myself down a bit. I'm not like totally subscribed to one ideology. And like I say, I don't know if it always makes sense because they're quite broad, a lot of them. I'm not really too sure, to be honest. Like what I strictly believe in everything. Well, I guess in terms of like I talked about the hijab a bit in my video yesterday, and I was thinking like I think a lot of people might disagree with me here because I am like a big atheist as well. But obviously you can tell from my video I'm not like bigoted against Muslim people, and I even say like if you want to wear the hijab, like go for it. I got no problem with it at all. But my main problem with something like the hijab as like a symbol is basically something like the hijab or the niqab or anything is that you have a sexist view of men and women where women have to cover up or they kind of deserve any harassment or, assault they get for not covering up. And if you're a man, you need women to cover up because you're such an uncontrollable animal that you cannot see flesh of another woman or you're going to go berserk or something. But like I said, and often with things like the hijab and niqab, you're coerced by social pressure in these communities. But if someone wants to wear that out of their own free will, then go for it. Like, I got no problem with that. But I think maybe some leftists would maybe get a bit funny at me criticizing it because, like, they might think you're coming from, like, a new atheist perspective. But I think, hopefully I pointed out in my video, I'm nothing like new atheists, but I am happy to criticize religious stuff as well. Yeah, Tony, as a child, Metal Gear is confusing. Sorry, I'm just reading comments. So, could you list some bad things that Prince Philip did? I saw leftists celebrating his death. The thing is with Philip, he didn't do anything like totally terrible. It's mainly like he was friends with loads of terrible people, like Jimmy Savile. He was pretty racist, and he's just like, you know, a British imperialist. But like personally, he didn't do anything like, he's not like the worst person ever or anything. But yeah, like just what he represents, I guess. So James Joker says, I seem to be bigoted against the West. How can you be bigoted against the West? I always ignore the atrocities committed by Southeast Asian countries. Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia have a lot of blood in their hands. Vietnam, okay, James, Vietnam was literally, more bombs were dropped on North Vietnam than the whole of bombs dropped in World War Two. And you want me to make videos on who the North Vietnamese killed when they were having a revolution, fighting like decades and decades of Western imperialism? How can I be bigoted against the West? I'm literally a white guy who grew up in England, and you think I'm bigoted against the West? The West is the most bigoted concept there is. The Western, you know, I literally just made a video yesterday on Western chauvinism. I'm not going to start talking. The thing is, and here's the Western chauvinist stuff. I doubt in your life, James, you've come out and spoke about how awful a guy, if you're American, George Washington is, you know, leading campaigns to genocide the natives, wearing dentures made out of his slave teeth, his own slaves' teeth, which he allegedly bought off them, because there's such an equal power dynamic. Countries like America and the British Empire are two of the most evil countries in the history of the modern world. So sorry if I'm not going to go on rants about like a massacre the North Vietnamese did of like, I don't know, civilians who were sympathetic to the Vichy French or something. I'm just not going to bother with that, because what the hell is the point as a leftist person? The thing is, the people like Ho Chi Minh and Che Guevara are not celebrated in the West, really. They're vilified in the West. Where people like George Washington, who was an awful guy, he is celebrated as some sort of apolitical hero. So that's why you can't be bigoted against the West. The West doesn't, you know, it's like Sam Harris trying to say in the video clip I showed yesterday, that apparently we must stick up for Western values. And he started talking about Poland, a country that has recently criminalized abortion and being gay. And apparently that's part of the West. It's just ridiculous. You can't be bigoted against the West. Related to you talking about the hijab, have you heard about the laws in France and parts of Canada that make it? Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that stuff annoys me, and the French government has been really bad at this. But I think Macron, I said it before, trying to take steam out of Le Pen for being like notorious anti-Islam stances and stuff. But yeah, it's so ridiculous because even like I said, I'm against the concept of things like that. And obviously I'm against the social cohesion that can go along with that. But if you start making laws against like wearing headscarves, like where do you draw the line between headscarf and hijab? And also what happens is they're trying to make France like more secular, or Canada more secular. You're just going to make these people be more like feel persecuted, and then they will obviously go more into their religion a bit more. That's why like the Uyghur stuff from China's perspective, I just think is totally ridiculous. If you want to get rid of like the influence of Islam, persecuting a group brutally for being Muslim is not going to make them not Muslim. It happened in Spain in the 1500s. They're like, yeah, all the Muslims, you got to convert and you've got to learn Castilian, no more Arabic. And basically what happened is they all just stayed Muslim, and then they wanted, you know, the Granadan revolt and stuff, and they all basically just became more Muslim. They didn't want to assimilate and stuff. So it always backfires. So it's totally, those laws are totally ridiculous. Dem Studio saying, Dan, just found your content today. Thanks for shitting on these idiotic concepts. Thanks, man. Alex saying what James said is one of the most Yankee shit I've heard about in a week or so. Just want to say anti-Americanism by itself is not a principled ideology. That's like the Jimmy Dore Tulsi left, that feels like. Who do I think was the best US president? None of them are that good. I guess Jimmy Carter maybe for doing the least damage, but then with him you have like El Salvador and from a certain point of view Operation Cyclone. So I guess Jimmy Carter probably the least worst president, but still bad. I'm trying to think. I guess FDR in terms of if you're talking about achievements, but then FDR did loads of shit as well. But if we're talking about like good achievements, I guess you go for FDR. If you're talking about least damage, maybe Jimmy Carter. When am I gonna? Like, I don't owe anyone a video. When are you gonna make a video about the mass murder of China? Like, the thing is, a billion things happen every day in the world. I don't make videos on every single thing that's going on in the world. I don't even make videos on stuff I really care about because I know people won't watch it. So I'm not gonna start making random videos about like random shit. Being bigoted against the West is like being bigoted against a giant corporation. Yeah. The US dropped 2 million tons of ordnance in Laos every 8 minutes, 24/7 for 9 years straight, making the country the most heavily bombed per capita in the world history. Yeah. Let's normalize bigotry against the West, if that's even a thing. France is what happens if our atheists run a country. Is there any reason leftists defend Putin? I guess because he's standing up to America and NATO. The thing with the Putin discourse and like the Ukrainian shit is like I wrote on Twitter the other day. The US are perfectly happy to ally themselves with Ukrainian fascists to fight Russia. But what people don't understand about Russian foreign policy is literally no different from Cold War or like anything. It's like the biggest threat to Russia comes from Western Europe. They're invaded by Western Europe, by Napoleon, then by Germany in World War One, then by the Nazis in World War Two. The whole policy in the Cold War was like, we're not going to get invaded from the Western Europe again. Let's create a big buffer zone. After the Soviet Union fell, it's like, yeah, Ukraine, you ain't joining the EU because you're our buffer still. And that's what people are missing in the analysis. It's not like Putin is Hitler and wants to take over the whole of Europe. It's literally just like he wants to pursue the same policy the Soviet Union always did. Sorry, I'm just reading some more comments. Carter was still a war criminal. I think the difference of Carter is like it's just less overt imperialism. Like the El Salvador stuff is the worst thing. Operation Cyclone, I don't know. Like so Jimmy Carter didn't give the Mujahideen weapons. He gave them like ordnance and equipment and supplies. That's Operation Cyclone. And then then Reagan ramped it up with it explicitly giving them weapons. Carter was more like because I wrote about this for my history dissertation about the US foreign policy after Vietnam. Carter was more like forming an anti-Soviet alliance with the Chinese, because obviously the Chinese undermined the Soviets in Afghanistan as well. Who has the biggest body count, the West or communist countries? The West has the thing is the West has body. The thing with communist countries' so-called body count is that you throw in massive famines in absolutely humongous countries, and this is what like Victims for Communism Foundation do, and act like the communists directly cause it. Like famines have been so common in China through all its history. Southern China is extremely dry, and it's like when the famines happen with the Communist Party, then it's like, oh yeah, the communists caused that. I'm not saying like the Great Leap Forward was fucking ridiculous in terms of like melting down your farm tools for steel and stuff. Man was like that shit crazy when he was the leader of the Communist Party. in China. But yeah, West has a way bigger body count. China used to be the West's bitch for like 200 years, and then are we World War One? If we're talking about the West, British imperialism, French imperialism, all these genocides they did in like Africa and India, like Western body count is so much higher than alleged communist body count. When are you gonna make a video about the fly on my wall? Oh, that's right, because you're a biased leftist. So I put my do not disturb on. The US is still doing genocide against natives today. Marx and Lincoln were alive at the same time. Yep. So I'm trying just to look. There's a cool letter you can read. There are these letters that Queen Victoria wrote. You can read them in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and she sends one to Lincoln's wife after he's killed. Pretty interesting to read. So WM asking why people can compare conservatism with Nazism. So in terms of like social beliefs, the Nazis, what I don't need to tell most of you, the Nazis aren't left-wing socialists. They are extremely right-wing ethno-nationalists. So Nazi Germany, for example, had extremely conservative views about things like sexuality, gender roles, women's place was the home. The Nazis really hammered this home. Like they thought it was like crazy that sometimes when you fight in the Soviets, you're fighting women. And then you have other things they felt like about, race, for example, extremely right-wing interpretation of that stuff, extremely racist people who took inspiration from the US's own race laws. So the Nazis are directly linked with the American race laws, Jim Crow and everything like that. So Nazism is just far right. Conservatism is right-wing. And, things on the family, status quo, tradition and everything, all that shit, Nazism has all that stuff as well. What Nazism is different on in that the race thing is enforced extremely violently, and actual Nazism, not the colloquial term, actually Nazism is actually focused on German supremacy, and a lot of Nazis believe the mythical shit where Germans were this superhuman race descended from like the Atlanteans, where Jews and Romani people were humans who bred with like animals and stuff. Like that's where their descendants have come from, or like dwarves and things like that. It's pretty crazy shit. So German Nazism is like pretty wild itself, but like conservatism, you go further right, you get up to fascism. And Donald Trump kind of like, I think Western chauvinism is kind of morphing with more like explicit fascist beliefs to create like a new kind of fascism where it's not necessarily outwardly like totally racist in terms of they won't accept different races in their movement, but it is like Western chauvinist, like Western culture, Judeo-Christian culture is superior to everything else. Sorry, I'm just reading some more comments. I hate people who simp for Stalin and Mao, but you can't trust the black book of communism. The thing is, like, what people have to remember is most of the people who wrote the history of like those countries aren't from those countries. Most of the people who wrote the history of the war of the Soviet Union between Nazi Germany and the USSR were actually Nazi generals who were rehabilitated by the West and stuck in the West German military. James says communism has crazy ideology based on classism as opposed to racism. Both are toxic and deadly. Yeah, it's so deadly to want to own the means of production and and make your workplace more of a democracy. So crazy. I mean, the violent part of Marxism is that you can overthrow the people who've been oppressing you for all time. Yeah, I would never compare them, but I think James is a very centrist liberal. Yeah, the religious right also believe Israel is an important part of their doomsday prophecy. I actually made a video on this like maybe 2 years ago. I might actually revisit that. It's a good topic, to be honest. Communism is bigoted on class. James, you don't know what bigoted means, I don't think. So I'm just reading more comments. It's popping off at the moment. Unlike race, yeah, class is based on material relations, nothing to do with your inherent identity. Yeah, the thing with class, you can just give all your money away and you can come be working class like the rest of us. It's so strange to see how many racists and transphobes are into magic. It's not really that hard to see about the racists, because loads of Nazis love magic. Because magic often believes in like purity of races and shit like that. Damn, I've been so tired lately. It's hitting me now. People posting a lot of cringe in the chat tonight. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Can you? Yeah, Anzoom. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys. I get this a lot. So Anzoom just asked me, can I keep this up? This thing. So everyone, if you have come late, if you have missed the stream, if you have ever missed it, go subscribe to this channel on the screen right now. I'll show you quick. So the Tabernacle Extra, my second channel, and you go on it, and here are the streams. So this one hopefully will go up soon. Sometimes it takes a while to upload to my actual channel. And then look, you got the whole thing, 2 hours, 1 hour. I cut that one because it was when I was talking about the Vosh Mel shit and people were just being annoying, so so I cut that out because I couldn't go with to deal with that crap again. But yeah, Tabernacle Extra, there you go, second channel. And I'll start posting the podcast in there when me and Holly start doing it again. But yeah, go subscribe to that if you came late, and hopefully it'll be up tonight, tomorrow at the latest. Yeah. Oh, just zooming out. Zoom in. All right. So you're telling me evangelicals want Israelis to occupy Jerusalem to meet the criteria? No, basically evangelicals want Israel to start a war with Iran, to start Armageddon, where Christians will be taken to New Jerusalem and Jews who don't convert will be killed by God. So lovely thing they want. Mike Pompeo actually wants it, which is crazy. Who's in charge? So sorry. There was a comment. Capitalism is good if regulated. I mean, capitalism isn't. Here's the problem with capitalism. Like Bernie Sanders said when back in his more socialist days, he had no problem with like really local free market capitalism. It's just capitalism is applied to a whole country. A for-profit system in anything just ruins a lot of things, and for-profit anything just ruins the planet, because what has happened since the birth of modern capitalism, the Industrial Revolution, and just literally just creating things for profit, is it's destroying the planet. Like the Amazon rainforest. Why are we destroying this massive carbon sink? It's because the meat industry, things like palm oil and everything, like we're literally destroying these rainforests around the world and forests around the world for these things. And we're literally doing it for profit. Do we need all that meat? No, we don't. Do we need all this food that we waste all the time? We need to distribute the food evenly. We don't need to have these destructive policies, but it's done for profit. And the for-profit mentality just ruins everything. because it wraps itself up in the political systems, where it wraps itself up in everything. Like, think of your life right now, and think of what you want to do in life. You probably don't want to do the job you're doing right now, but in a for-profit system where you exist to make someone else profit, that's just the way you got to live. And it hurts things like art as well, where it becomes very cynical. Everyone should be free to do what they want, but in a for-profit system, you're not free to do what you want. And for-profit system means the profit is never enough. The rich people who enjoy these profits, it's never enough to them. And I think what the pandemic has showed is that these people don't give a shit. They will loot the country while you guys are all suffering. And that's what they're doing in America and the UK. And with climate change, they're doing it's psychotic shit. It's like they will literally destroy the planet for as much profit as possible. And then for these people, the solution isn't to stop and stop the destruction of the planet. The solution is we are going to leave the planet when we've destroyed it enough. And that's their solution, the solution we don't get. And I read a report the other day, wasn't it, like how much the 1% pollute the world? And it's true, because they do. And that's why capitalism, in my mind, is just completely unsustainable in terms of like broad looking at it, like global spectrum. But then in like the micro of nations and stuff, you just get one class of people exploiting the rest of you to make their lives as nice as possible, give them as much power as possible, while you suffer to scrape by. And like a lot of you won't be doing things you like. You'll be doing things you hate. You'll be in companies which have no democracy for the workers. You'll be in companies where your boss treats you like absolute garbage because they're enabled by this for-profit system. And that's your life then. Like, that is that it? Like, you look around you, you're like, I got to work this shit job until I die for just enough money to scrape by and live in some crap apartment, which is way overcharged. Never, maybe, with our generation, never own your own property, never actually have access to your own capital in a capitalist system, just literally begging for the scraps. And people were trying to tell me, like, that's a good system because, you might get, like, a massive, like, $1 million budget movie or video game. Great. It's just like the humans, you're not meant to exist for that. And that's not what freedom is. People say it's freedom to become a millionaire, but potentially, like, tiny chance. That's not freedom when you literally have to crush everyone else just like you to get to the top of this pile, if you're lucky, which you probably won't get to. And it's like, I think it's like capitalism is just a psychotic economic ideology, and things like barter system, and even things like small barters in a small market in like a town or something, that's fine. But we're talking about global capitalism with massive giant corporations destroying the planet for their shareholders, while the rest of us have to be complicit in this system even though we don't want to, because that's the system that's constructed. And like with veganism and like with stuff like that, which I respect, is like individual veganism means fuck all, because it's not going to stop the meat industry. The only way you stop that is through government regulation. Like I said, if I was Prime Minister in the UK, I'd make a goal to get off meat by 2050. There are so many alternatives now. You don't need to be complicit in this system. But with a for-profit, capitalist economy, the democracies, so-called democracies, are so wrapped up in the economies, and these people bribe politicians to make sure this stuff never happens. So you have no choice but to be complicit in a system that destroys the planet. And that's what depresses me about the world. And it's depressing me, like, most of us don't have capital. Most of us these days don't even own our own houses, and we don't have much savings. And we've got to exist in this stuff where we're making people with the capital, even more influence, even more money. Most of these people are totally psychotic. People like Elon Musk, people like, Donald Trump and stuff. That's who you're making money. That's who you're making more powerful every single day. So I'm never going to be pro-capitalism. And that's the thing with automation of various industries. It should be celebrated. Robots doing farming for us, that should be the future of humanity. But what actually happens in a capitalist system is the robots will replace human jobs, and you won't be given enough food to live, or you won't be given a house or a salary. Like, well done, you've done your farming job, now a robot can do it. It's like, now you're fucked, go get another job, or starve. But we'll take your job with robots to cuss. Yeah, it's just like a sickening system. And it depresses me. And it's just depressing that everything has to be commodified. Like, you don't just do things. You can't just have freedom to do what you want and enjoy your life. You just exist to make someone else money. And that is the reality for most of us. And like, no wonder there's so many issues with like alcoholism and drug abuse, everything like that, when that's the reality. And I think talking to a lot of people my own age, my parents don't really understand it, but like a lot of people have woken up to like, that is just life now. And that is just a depressing thing about getting old, is like your life, when you start working as well full time, your life just, you see it all in front of you, and like, this is my life, like begging, doing this shit job, begging for like more holiday days, trying to distract myself by going on these holidays or taking time off. And then before you know it, your life's over and you haven't done what you've enjoyed. You never did what you wanted to do. You just got by working at something you never wanted to do in the first place. And then I'm in a privileged position where, like, you know, I have a middle class background. I had a very good education, thankfully. I was able to just fuck off my job, and then potentially I can become, you know, a YouTuber. That can be my job, like, and it can pay well if I keep growing. But then I realised how lucky that is, because lots of people grow up in poverty, go to work straight after school, and that's their life forever, and there's no chance of getting better. So, you know, you're never going to get me being pro-capitalist. Again, small free market bartering at a local town farmers market, yeah, I haven't got a problem with that. I haven't got a problem with, you know, buying something when it's like an equal transaction between two parties, like two civilians. I got no problem with that. It's giant corporations that have constructed this system where we're all brainwashed to fight each other over the scraps, when of course who we should be directing it to is the people at the top making this money. So yeah, my rant about why I hate capitalism. I'm very passionately anti-capitalist, and variety of reasons. Destruction of the planet is probably up there with the most one, though. What was my main area of study in history? I'd say like Vietnam War, because I did that the most. I did that 3/4 of my third year in history was Vietnam. I've done a lot on US foreign policy across my master's in history degree. I've done a lot of Middle Eastern history and a lot of Spanish history. So maybe those. So I'm just reading the comments because we're on that little rant. Should I ban James? I don't like the mean things he said about Yuri Gagarin. Alright, so I'm reading the comments. Sorry, a lot of people talking. Capitalism is unsustainable. Yep. Who needs biodiversity when there's shower gel to sew? Yeah. Yeah, but Swiss ketchup. The capitalist systems we live in at the moment are regulated, and they're rigged. But also, I always say Britain and America have the worst of state capitalism and free market capitalism, where state capitalism they'll be involved. A lot of the government and politicians will be involved in these giant companies, too big to fail companies, massive contracts with the US government. Pharmaceutical industry, you see this a lot. Companies like Pfizer have a massive in with the US government. And if you're like a startup pharmaceutical company, way less likely you're going to get the same treatment. So essentially is free market for the little guy, state capitalism for the rich, where you'll get subsidies, where you'll get lots of investment from the government, like Tesla, for example, where the rest of you are fucked and go compete with each other. And like with drugs, it's like jack up the price if you want. In America, like what people don't realize about the pharmaceutical companies. Pharmaceutical companies absolutely hate the UK's regulatory board because it's really strict. Pharmaceutical companies also give away a lot of their drugs in poor countries because they can afford to. Because you know why? Because they make up the bulk of their profit in the American market because there's barely any price regulation. And that's how cucked Americans are, is that like you celebrate capitalism while you're the country that pharmaceutical companies exploit the most because there is little price regulation. So once you get your drug approved by the FDA, off you go. Go sell it for however much you want. And even the generic drugs, the cheaper ones, are often owned by the same pharmaceutical companies who own the patented ones. So they'll create competition within themselves to drive up the price of one or the other. And it's all going in their pockets. And that's America for you. You know, the home of the capitalist. Cut yourself with life-saving medication because, you know, you want to make a little bit of money on the stock market or something, I don't know. So I'm just reading some more. Yeah, so Rubber K was saying, we're screwed and automation kicks in. 40% of American jobs will be automable by 2030. But that's the thing, that should be a good thing. That should mean we don't have to work. I'm going to enjoy life. It should be like, you've done your time, farmers. You've done that really hard work of you know, when I watch some of the pickers, especially the ones from like, the really poor ones in America, it's like that is just back-breaking awful work, and if you can automate it, that should be a good thing, not that that person should lose their income. Yeah, so Swiss Ketchup saying, can you explain to me why Germany is such a powerhouse after World War II? Well, Japan and Germany, like many countries, benefited from like the Marshall Plan, massive investments in these countries to stop them from becoming communist. West Germany obviously pumped full of money. Also had some good like politicians as well who helped with these recoveries. But mainly, you know, Germany has always been a powerhouse since the imperial days. One of the biggest countries in Europe, really good industries, like industrial stuff. So yeah, basically just a quick recovery because it got pumped full of money, and was a key spot just for, you know, US businesses. Has its own companies which still exist today. A lot of them are bailed out by the Americans. A lot of drug companies. Bayer is a German company which made drugs for the Nazis, but is still around today because it got bailed out by the Americans. So yeah, Americans. Kavanagh got given a decent speech, not going to lie. Thank you. Okay, I won't. Fine. Yeah, so WM says, I was discussing capitalism with a libertarian and they pulled the innovation argument. So the innovation on the capitalism makes me fucking laugh. Because like think even like, let's just apply it to video games, right? Every video game is the fucking same. Like at some periods, like remember when Call of Duty was the big thing, like really big thing, and every game would just copy it. Think of like games like FIFA or NFL. They literally don't change anything because through capitalism they've bought up the market. NFL, EA owns the rights to all these leagues, exclusive rights for years, so no one else can compete, so they don't have to innovate. And you don't need a profit motive to innovate. Think of, like, if any of you are creative in any sense, if you make videos, if you paint pictures, if you draw, do you need a profit incentive to make something unique? The guy who made Tetris, you know, groundbreaking game, didn't need a profit motive to make this game. Lots of people who make video games today for not giant companies make really great stuff without a profit incentive. Sometimes they need the profit to keep developing in a capitalist system. They don't need the profit to make something cool and make something good. You don't need a profit incentive to do this thing. But in a capitalist system, you often need the profit to actually do it in the first place. And that's the difference. You don't need a profit incentive to make innovative stuff. Like people were saying earlier, who sent the first man in space? It was the USSR. They didn't do that for profit. They did it because they wanted to. How did they do that? Through innovation of the technology. They didn't just like one day, that's the thing. Like you don't need a profit. Some people might need a profit incentive to do something, but if you're an artist and you're very passionate about stuff, or if you're even like an innovator who's like an entrepreneur and you just want to make someone's life better, like you make an invention that makes someone's life better, you make an app that makes someone's life better, you might be incentivized by profit, but a lot of people who do that stuff are often incentivized just by making something cool and good. You don't need, like, it's like saying up to humans, like, oh, how did humans make the wheel? There was no profit incentive there. It's like, you made it because it makes your life easier, makes things better and stuff. Like, you don't need a profit incentive to create innovation. Martin Shkreli, yeah, total shitbag. But the thing is, Martin Shkreli, his company had the patent for a drug for a very specific illness, and no one else was making this drug, so there was no competition. That's why he could hike up the price. Is China socialist in your opinion? No. China's not a socialist country. I don't really care if people think it is. I mean, the thing is, what's happened with China is, like, even if you were going to argue with me that China is just using capitalism to get to a socialist society, the rise of Chinese tech billionaires kind of disproves that. Like, I know I made a video about how the Chinese government don't like these tech billionaires, but they kind of want to use them to, promote China's national image and stuff. But at the same time, if you have a system that has billionaires, even if you're going to argue with me that it's a transition to socialism, I don't think you're a socialist country. So I'm just reading some more comments. Passion is what you need to innovate, not fucking feeding yourself. Yeah, you need to think past surviving. You need a clear mind. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Innovation. Meanwhile, we get the same Marvel movie every year with a new coat of paint and another code of a new era. Yeah, exactly. But Swiss Ketchup, you said the right to own property. What if you just were guaranteed property as a right, like, and then you died, someone else got it, like, not necessarily your family. In Vietnam, you're not allowed. It's really hard for Westerners to own property, and a lot of the time, if you buy property, you have to give it to the government when you die. So I'm gonna now. So I'm just reading comments still. Until I went on the internet, I didn't realise how many young people were angry and poor. Yeah, feels like all of my generation, all of my friends, even from more middle class backgrounds, just feels like it's so stagnant. Like there's just no progress to be made for anyone. So I'm just reading some more comments. Sorry. What do I think about tankies? Tankies are irrelevant. People have asked me to make videos on them before. But like I said, I focus on Nazis because Nazis are like a massive threat who like infiltrating the armed forces and law enforcement. Tankies are just like some weird online thing that has no relevance. Sorry. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know what people are talking about in the comments. Being anti-communism is dumb. Like, I'm not talking... But the thing is, when people say anti-communism, you think you're talking about Stalin and Mao. It's like, being anti-communism is just silly. Like, it's silly as a stance, because if you actually read communist ideology, you know, why would you be like, oh, I'm anti that? Like, and it's weird as well. Like, anti-capitalism is different in the sense, like, I can articulate pretty well that even if there's upsides to capitalism, like, for example, let's talk about pharmaceuticals, is that, like, the amounts of money in a capitalist system, the amounts of money needed for the pharmaceutical industry and the research is like astronomical. It's so much money to develop these treatments. And I guess you could say in a capitalist system, private companies in pharmaceuticals are maybe needed to actually develop this stuff in a capitalist system. So I don't agree there should be capitalism. I don't want the research of new drugs to be on these private companies. But in this system, would you rather pay way more taxes for the state to develop their own drugs, right? Not to develop their own generics, to develop innovative new drugs. And that is like the innovation that people might talk about. But again, a lot of these people who often make medical breakthroughs do not work for Pfizer, do not work for these other places. But a lot of these things, like Pfizer, for example, these big companies, because of the power and the money they have, they can often do this stuff. Whereas if you look at the history of medicine, a lot of these people are poor inventors and stuff. They didn't need the profit in incentive. But in the capitalist system now, which sucks, is that states can't afford to do this, really. You have to rely on shitty pharmaceutical companies. And then the only way to combat that is, like in the UK, have a really, really stringent drug regulatory board, which makes them guys, the pharmaceutical companies, have to show you why they can charge a certain amount of money for stuff. But then, like I'm saying, in the US, it's more cucked, is that, like, you guys pay taxes for these companies that are in bed with the government to research this stuff, and then they sell it back to you at a massive, massive premium. Again, the US needs some sort of price regulatory board for pharmaceutical companies. It's just insane it doesn't have one. And it's insane that anyone can think America's the best country on earth. And it's also insane to me, any American is a capitalist who doesn't earn more than like 200k a year or something. It's like, it's such a cucked country of capitalism. It's just laughable. It's like I said before, Democrats and Republicans, they don't even pretend to help you, but there's cults of personalities around both of them. And if you can't even grant your citizens universal healthcare and regulate pharmaceutical companies, then like what hope do you have of anything? And again, this is the country which prides itself on being capitalist, where they'll just fuck most of their citizens for the benefit of the rich. And it just makes me laugh, because Americans are so explicitly loud about capitalism, it being the best system, and it's just so funny. It's just so ridiculous. It's literally like Americans and Trump supporters made the word cuck popular. It's literally, like I said, America is the most cucked country by capitalism. So I'm reading some more things. Why are you saying Turkey's a caliphate? Turkey's like an authoritarian democracy. Read some more. See you later, Swiss catch up, you're gone now. So that's some water. I've been talking for a lot. Sorry, I'm reading some more comments. I hate people's attitudes here. Okay, saying I earn 40k a year, and like my parents, are the only reason I'm not homeless or dead. Yeah, the thing is, $40k sounds pretty good, but then you have to factor in you don't have healthcare, which is the crazy part. I'm stealing that America is the most cut country by capitalism. Yeah, exactly. Does anyone know if this dude... Who is this Uncle Thomas guy? Yeah, of course I'm against Assad. Why would I be pro-Assad? America is a third world country with a Gucci bag. That is really funny. Sorry. Get some more. So I like the Kurds. Wait. Why do I have to like anyone? The Kurds are better compared to a lot of the people in the region. Is Assad evil? I don't even want to get in like a philosophical debate about evil. We are the most cut, can confirm. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, what I always say about America is that America is like India, Brazil. It's like one of these countries where you have like elite, middle class, drop off, extreme poverty. UK's heading that way as well, but it's like some of the, like we looked at, remember we watched those videos of like the worst places to live in America and stuff, and it's like I can't believe people in the service industry make like $2 an hour and they have to rely on tips for their wages. What sort of fucking system is that, where you put someone's income on you tipping them for good service, and then hand in hand with your healthcare is often tied with your job? Again, Americans are literally the least free, cucked people in the so-called West. How can you be proud of that system? It fucking sucks. It's like America is the worst capitalist country out there. I can't think of a worse example. And the fact they're proud of it is just fucking hilarious. And the fact that Democratic voters and Republican voters are insane in the sense that they'll just happily be shit all over forever. But even Democratic voters who pretend to be better, it's like Joe Biden isn't doing fuck all for any of you, and you'll still be a fanatical follower. Like all the fucking celebs posting like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, even like when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, like posting pictures of her. It's like, you guys are fucking embarrassing. These people aren't your friends. They should be your enemies. And they should exist for you to pressure to do things that you want them to do. Anyway, Americans, you cucks. I know, and obviously it goes without saying, I'm not talking about nearly everyone in the chat. I'm talking about like American culture as like a whole. Opinions on the Red Army faction? Are we talking about the Soviet Red Army or the Chinese Red Army? Javi, like, the thing is, I don't get, if capitalism is so shit, how come there's been no revolution? Well, why do you think when you trap people in this system? The thing is, when you trap people in this system, but you divide them up as well, it's like a common tactic. The British used to use it in the colonial times. You divide people up. You put white poor against white poor, Democratic white poor against Republican white poor. You put white poor against black poor against Asian poor, Latino poor. You put people against each other so they can't unify over just improving their economic circumstances. Or you divide them up with culture war shit, like Dr. Zeus or Second Amendment or abortion or anything like that. You distract them from the real issues. They throw these things in your face while looting your pockets, and that's just the truth of it's not just America, it's most politics. Throw culture war issues in people's faces while making their life worse, and divide them against each other so they can't form any sort of class unity against you. Because back in the day, you either provided for people or they'd kill you. And that's just not something that happens anymore. In a revolutionary system, in many revolutions, whether it be in France, England, you fuck over people and then they'll kill you. There's something called the Land War in Ireland, where they tried to do land reform, which hurt a lot of the serfs and peasants, and then they just went around terrorizing landlords. And that's what would happen back in the day. You fuck people over and they've got nothing else to lose and they'll kill you. And that just doesn't happen now. Tony, I'd move to Scotland if I were you, but Belgium or Switzerland is probably... I'd say Belgium is probably the best bet. Biden is a pre-Trump Republican and we're grateful he won. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, I haven't heard of the Red Army faction. What are my thoughts on the Frankfurt School? Haven't I made it pretty clear? I think it's well, if we're talking about the actual Frankfurt School, if we're talking about the conspiracy theory, I think it's the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard. That one group of scholars have created a theory, and everyone subscribes to it in the whole of academia. So much so they're subverting Western values and they're subverting Americanism from within. Totally not anti-Semitic. That's a bunch of Jewish scholars who fled Nazi Germany, who were in the Frankfurt School. Totally not anti-Semitic. That it's a very similar theory to Judeo-Bolshevism. But if you're talking about the Frankfurt School specifically, then yeah, I don't really know what you want me to say. Yeah, Nathan, that's the depressing thing about Ireland. That's why I'm not patriotic. It's the Irish revolutions were good. The Irish government, De Valera, has been fascist adjacent, Catholic nationalist, all this fucking crap. So Irish, De Valera and the Irish parties who control Ireland today have fucked up the legacy of the revolution big time. Yeah, Biden's funding the police more than Trump. Yeah, Biden is trash. And I made videos about how racist he is as well. Alright. Wait, is he doing... Is Uncle Tom's taking something... Did I not just go on a big rant about, for 5 minutes, why I'm so passionately anti-capitalist? And he's saying I'm a centrist. How do you counter the argument claiming that if everyone was given the basic necessities such as food, water, housing, they wouldn't just be lazy and not work? Well, the thing is, it depends what you mean by that. If we're automating the world, who gives a shit if people are lazy? But it's think of all the jobs that are really hard and don't pay that well, but people still go and do them, I don't know, doctors or nurses, or people just do it because they want to help people. And I think that's the thing that I agree with. Without capitalism, humans will just do things to be helpful and to help people. Okay, think in socialist countries. Think of Cuba, for example. We talk about the doctors there, right? In Cuba, you're not becoming a millionaire by becoming a doctor. You're not becoming extremely wealthy by becoming a doctor, but you'll still join you still go to medical school and become a doctor, and maybe the income's a bit better than other places, but the money that you'd make in a place like America, for example, is nothing. The money you make in Cuba is nothing. People will still do it, and that's an extremely hard job. Loads of skill required. Need a strong stomach. Need incredible knowledge, and people still do it, even though it's not like a profit incentive and stuff. So like, in terms of basic necessities and everything, if people had everything they needed, you'd be more free to pursue what you wanted. And if we're in an automated society, people don't need to work. But I think people would still do it. And I think people, like a lot of people don't have much purpose in life. And if you just took the stress away of having to work just to survive, I think people would still do the jobs that needed doing. And in my mind, if we had a society where most people didn't have to work, what you would do for the people who do work is just give them like a bit more luxury. That's what I would advertise. So people like us who don't want to like work in a traditional capitalist system can just do what we want. And then if you actually want to go like, I don't know, farm or something, then you just get paid a bit more or something if we're going in that direction. But I don't think humans, like, I don't know, I think humans are a bit lazy. I was reading a study about bears and humans being like species that are more prone to being lazy, but I don't think people like these days like would really want to just sit around doing nothing all the time. Lots of us do, but we all know people who just can't stand that sort of stuff as well. Do I have any prescriptions? No. Sorry, I was reading the comments. Sorry, it's on live chat. No, is that what I want? Isn't Tabernacle anti-American? Yes. I mean, what's wrong with that? Yeah, fuck De Valera and Collins. I believe in UBI. UBI would be nice. I mean, I do think it's a band-aid for global capitalism, but I mean, at this point, I'll take it for now. It's better than just having global capitalism with no UBI. I don't think people just stare at the wall because they got basic survival needs met. Yeah. Alright, I've been streaming for a while. I was trying to give up. Oh, damn, we're turning into a 2-hour stream in the end. Alright, I'm going to leave now. Thanks for all the genuine questions, and the chat was enjoyable. Sorry about the trolls. I left them up for now, but if they're back next time, Uncle Thomas, I'll just mute them if that's what people want. Yeah, so thanks everyone for joining. Hopefully going to stream on Thursday. I've been bad with the Thursday streams, but I will do it this week. But no, I appreciate you guys all for coming. Video tomorrow. Check out the videos done lately. And yeah, Tabernacle Extra for the live stream archive if you want to watch any of this that you missed. And yeah, that's it. So cheers everyone for watching.